back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual... I'm so distracted by
I accidentally misspelt first, and it's my forced thoughts on Twitter. I didn't realize.
We have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, Episode 4, Season 2, Mugato, Gumato. What's up, Toddy?
How you doing?
I'm good. Just chilling here. Oh, there might be a couple other guests.
What? No.
I know.
I was just about to compliment the fact that there's only two of us.
I think
They're
it's going to stay that way. Hold on.
Tell them to shove off.
Oh no, they want to come on. Should I send a link? Should I do it?
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'll send a link. Hold on.
Let's let them in.
We're not going to be...
We'll open the gates.
We'll open the gates. So while I send this link, I just want to promote ahead, and we'll do it at the end too, but your discussion with Noah Averbach-Katz was amazing. I was really enjoying it.
Oh, you say Noah and then his name. I say Noah AK. Right?
I know, and that was funny, by the way, as well. That was pretty delightful.
He was a great guest. For those that don't know, I do Trek Chat. I have a monthly podcast. So every first of the month, when I get it right, there's an episode where I have two guests on, and sometimes I have celebrity guests, but I try to not make it too interviewish. I try to make it just a conversation about Star Trek. Of course, having guests on and having people that are like in the industry, you kind of have to ask questions because they have different insight and perspectives on things. So it's and they have different stories that they can tell you. So it's kind of a blend between conversation.
But that was like, I've heard Noah on many different podcasts. Many a discussion, and no joke, not just because you're my friend or anything, and because I like Trek Chat, but that was like one of the most fun ones, because I don't know if you did any research or listened to the other ones, but I feel like you asked questions that I hadn't heard before, and then just got him to talk about things that I don't think I've heard him talk about before. And some things, but...
Well, I haven't seen any other interview of his.
Yeah, so very cool. Anyways, Starfleet Boy is too shy to have celebrities on. I was already flipping out when Larry Nemechek came on the show. And
at this point, the both of us freak out when we have Kowalski on, right?
It's true. It's true. But I have to get over it one day, and maybe we'll have some Star Trek celebs on.
It's very stressful. I apologize, celebrity, if one day you're on my show, I become socially awkward, but because I'm very stressed out. It's not because I don't like you.
Yeah, and it's not like there's anything, it's not like we're like, we're just fanboys, and it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, that's it. Sometimes we have to overcome the power.
The power, yeah, it's true. Welcome, Blue. Welcome. I think we're being silly Billies, and and welcome. Parentheses eyes. Tell us what you thought of this episode in the chat. But I guess while we're waiting for this mystery guest. Well, he's not.
Well, all of the usual guests are out watching Shang-Chi, right?
So that's the thing. We're kind of, we're competing with Shang-Chi.
The MCU is somewhat more important than us. I don't.
But hey, understand. You know what? I appreciate the people that are here. Like you're all in the audience. But yeah, Shang-Chi's definitely.
I think Disney could perhaps maybe schedule their releases to not like overlap with the Starfleet Boy discussions in the future.
Yeah, Disney. Let's be a little bit more considerate, please.
So we'll be sending messages to Feige and Favreau and everything, just to sort that out.
Well, what happened in this week's episode of
everything? It all happened.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's a lot. I took a lot of notes. I got to watch it twice, so I'm excited. I actually got to watch it.
I only got to watch it once.
I know, but you're keener than I am at catching things. So, you want to give the summary, or should I give the summary, or who wants to?
We can do a quick summary and then get into it.
All right. So, basically, the Cerritos is investigating a planet that has the Mugato. They mentioned that it's not indigenous. They're not indigenous to this planet, so it's not the same planet from TOS, and it definitely isn't. It's really cool looking with the weird glowy,
it's jungly
stuff. And then, yay, our other guest is here. So Welcome, Marcelo. We're just doing the episode summary, so hang tight.
Hello. Okay. This is the first time I think that we've actually spoken
Marcelo's on
in the real face-to-face experience. No, I've talked to him. We've talked in group
am I
chats,
connecting
I think.
you guys for the first time?
Yeah, this is the first time I've been on the air with the infamous Trek on the Tube, but it's a pleasure to finally meet you properly.
Dear Lord.
Wow, this is cool. Okay, well, speaking of fanning out, there you go. Marcelo, welcome. I think this is not your first time though on the Starfleet Boy daytime show, is it?
No, but this is the first time talking about Lower Decks. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Just a friendly reminder, it's PG-13, even though this episode of Lower Decks was not. So we want to keep our language, our cursing to an absolute minimum, just for our general audience out there. But anyways, going back to the episode summary. So they're investigating this planet because they heard that there's these non-indigenous Mugato, and I missed the part. Like, I guess they didn't know about the Ferengi or anything like that. They didn't know what was going on. They just
initially they didn't know what was going on.
Tip off that there were Mugato. So, anyways, we start off with a really funny scene in the gym where Mariner and Rutherford and Boimler go at it with Ambujitsu, and apparently she's been taking it easy on them and wearing her kit gloves, so to speak. And but then
Mariner gangs up all by herself on the other two.
When they say they've been practicing after midnight, and they hit her really hard at first, they get the first point, and I was like kind of like, whoa, because she was like bleeding, but she's like, oh my goodness, yes. And then she goes nuts.
Yeah, she bellanded out.
She goes crazy. And that
they should have known better.
I mean, Boimler vomits, and it was just crazy. It was awesome. Anyway, she puts them in their place and dispatches them very quickly. And so they're recuperating afterwards in a bar and hanging out and and like playing which I thought was amazing. They're playing a diplomacy game, and they happen to talk to the weird bartender. Is that a Newfoundland accent, by the way? I wish we had PJ here to tell us. But anyways, this bartender with like kind of an interesting accent. It was kind of like that why did you spill your beans accent from the movie The Lighthouse. Tells them that Mariner's actually a Black Ops agent, and that she's like a really vicious killer, and you know, if you don't want her you don't want her to be up against the wall, because she'll just go nuts with her programming and try to kill you, etc. And so they're freaking out because they think it's real. Also, we find out I think this season we're going to find out all of Mariner's past assignments, because we find out that she was on the Atlantis before, which is pretty cool. Anyways, they get together with the landing party and they go down to the planet, and some really gross stuff happens right off the bat, like Shax's basically sampling Mugato poo to like locate them. Is so gross. I mean, like it that one got me. And when they find them, they're in this Ferengi like compound where the Ferengi are apparently poaching and selling and you know, using and killing Mugato for furs and horns and stuff like that. And then we have a character voiced by Paul F. Tompkins, I'm pretty sure it was him. I don't know, I didn't confirm it, but it sounded like him, who's, you know, caught in the middle of buying. So they raid the compound, and it goes awry, and it doesn't go as it should, and the Mugato are released, and all hell breaks loose, so to speak. And so they all get separated. Shax gets injured badly. He gets bitten by a Mugato. Mariner seems to be a killer because she stabs them with a knife.
She's framed as such.
She's framed as such. And Voims and Rutherford go off on a side adventure, and they run into
what Larry Nemeczek believes might be a half human, half
I agree. Tellarite. What was his name? I can't remember his name, but he reminded me of the crocodile hunter a little bit.
That's exactly what it was. He was absolutely Space Crocodile Dundee.
It's true. Anyways, that guy turned out to not be an expert like he initially leads people on to believe, and he gets killed as well. And then Mariner shows up, and she gets trapped, and they have to free her, but and they learn.
He also reminds me of the NPC from Jumanji, the newer Jumanji movies.
I haven't seen those films yet.
Oh, okay, there's like an NPC character that always gets like kind of killed, but then he comes back because he's an NPC.
Oh, you talk about the Australian NPC guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. That the guide kind of guy.
He's like a tour guide kind of dude, or a safari guide or whatever.
Exactly. Anyways, Mariner gets trapped in a Mugato trap, which is cool. A cool take on a bear trap, I guess. I guess it doesn't hurt you. It just kind of like traps you in a force field or whatever. And they come.
Notes.
Nice. And they confront Mariner. Boimler and Rutherford confront Mariner, and it turns out it was all innocent. Mariner just puts on this front and spreads these rumors about herself so that creeps will stay away, but she didn't expect her best friends to fall for it, and so they have a touching moment, but it's too late. The Ferengi come and capture Mariner, so then it's up to our duo to save the day, and they construct something that looks like the cannon from the Gorn episode, but it turns out to just be a projector, and they're able to convince the Ferengi that it's more profitable to turn this Mugato operation into a preserve and sell tickets and have people come and see the rare and
sexually active.
Sexually, oh yeah, I skipped over that scene. That's right. Sexually, very sexual Mugato, and so they go for it, and that's it. Meanwhile, on the ship, we have Tendi running around trying to get people who haven't shown up for their, I guess, annual physicals to get scanned. And she goes on this journey, and she finds out that Dr. Tayana is one of these people, who doesn't want to get scanned, who's, for whatever reason, avoids going to the doctor, which I think is a funny thing because I'm kind of like one of those people that avoids going to the doctor, and I should go to the doctor. And also, there's this whole thing with that guy from the planet where he has a scam where he pretends his shuttle is falling apart so he can get an upgrade, and the Cerritos crew actually kind of falls for it until Admiral Freeman mentions something.
I have nothing against that kind of C plot, but we didn't really need it. Like it doesn't weigh down the episode or anything, but it didn't really need to be there.
Right. But I think that's the whole episode. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think you got pretty much everything.
All right. Well, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you guys want to talk about first? The Ambo Jitsu scene.
No. I think it was pretty cool that Boimler and Rutherford used diplomacy to get themselves out of a pretty awful situation with the Ferengi. Because of all the things that I thought would have happened, I thought that Mariner was just going to take over and kick and kick Ferengi butt to get them out of the situation. See, I'm trying not to curse already.
Yeah, and it was cool because I think Rutherford and Boimler are not a typical pairing, right? So they did the same thing, like how they had Tendi and Mariner, and now they had Boimler and Rutherford. So yeah, I like that a lot.
It is a very it's a very TNG or TOS kind of I suppose conclusion to the episode, where it all resolves very peacefully and diplomatically, but it's also, I don't know, it was heartwarming the way that they managed to convince the Ferengi to like actually take care of the animals. And there's even like a line in the end of the episode where the Ferengi leader says like we are here for the Mugato, like to help them. He says something to the effect of like we're not exploiting them for money, even if it's like a zoo or a theme park or anything. It's like we are here to care for them, and then people will come and visit us. But it was refreshing to have a finale like that. I like, well, not a finale, but an ending like that.
In a way, based on what Trek on the Tube just said, this whole episode is structured around a giant misunderstanding. First, with the stories about Mariner, and secondly, with what the Ferengi really want out of the Magatus. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, the Ferengi aren't inherently evil or bad. Like, they just want what gives them the most profit. And so they like, if what gets them the most profit is basically kidnapping people and selling them, then they'll do that. But if you can find a different way for them to get more money, then they'll do that. So they're not inherently bad people. And these guys, clearly, they weren't out to, like, kill the Mugato on purpose. They were just like, hey, we can get money from the horns, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, also, I mean, I think that, like, it. Well, okay, so the episode was kind of like a triggering for me because I'm like animal stuff like really gets me like super sad. And, like,
Gary's gonna get all riled up watching this.
Like, so like I didn't like the fact that they were being exploited, and I didn't like that, you know, even though I kind of have loved the Mugato ever since I was a little kid, because like they're cute in a weird way. Like they're like, you know, they're like furry and like, you know, and I think they just remind me of like apes in a lot of ways, like gorillas and stuff like that. And so I know there was a big thing where, like, have you guys ever seen Gorillas in the Mist? And like, what's the name? Oh, what's her name? She's amazing. And that's awesome that you have that. Anyways, they're misunderstood, and a lot of people think gorillas are very aggressive and stuff like that, but they're just, you know, they're just being territorial, and they're actually very like much they're very much like humans. I mean, they're like very social animals, and they're like, they care for their young, and you know, and like, just, you know, they're having sex, you know, like all these things. And so
of course you would go there.
well, no, I'm just saying, I mean, the episode went there, which, by the way, we'll talk about that a little. We'll touch on that a little bit. Did Lower Decks go too far?
I think it did. I don't know about that one scene personally, but that's just because that's not my type of humor.
Right,
like, I had the first laugh out loud moment in this episode, and it's that random moment where, like, the Ferengi just cracks the whip and laughs. Like, for no apparent reason, it cuts to a Ferengi on the other side of the jail cell, and he goes, and he just walked. I'm like, that got me. I laughed. So that's my kind of humor, not necessarily the horny humor.
Just to say, Jill, feel no responsibility. I mean, I think we're being silly billies. Feel no responsibility whatsoever to moderate the chat. But if you see anything that you feel like,
no, but if you put a swear word in the chat, it won't. Your comment
it won't come up
through.
Anyways. Yeah, like, I think YouTube does a good job. So thank you. I'm sorry, I just gave you the wrench because you come to all the chats, but don't feel any responsibility about it. Like,
Gave you the wrench.
Yeah, she has the power. A couple things in the chat. What the hell do Mugato eat to have blue dew? I think it's those glowing blue fruit things that are all over the place. I think those are like fruits, so I think they're eating that stuff. That's the only thing I think of.
They need more fiber in their diet.
They might need more fiber. Maybe it's fiber. I don't know. Maybe that's good fiber.
They eat spores from the mycelial network.
Tiana was pretty funny this week. Yeah, last week too, but this week she was really funny as well. The secret power against the Ferengi in this episode was a detailed PowerPoint. Yep, cost-benefit analysis. That'll get a Ferengi anytime. I love the solution. It was wonderful. And then let's see here. Oh, look who's here. That's cool. The doctor. Sigourney Weaver was in Gorillas in the Mist, but who's the famous...
Sigourney Weaver was here for a second.
Yeah.
Look who's here. He clicked Sigourney Weaver. Oh, wow.
But Doctor, who am I thinking of? Who's the naturalist or the biologist who studies apes, and she's still oh gosh, I'm gonna Jane
from Tarzan.
Jane, no.
I got mad Jurassic Park 2 vibes from this, and I don't know why, but I also got like Tarzan vibes, like the Disney Tarzan vibes from this, when Shax was all swinging through the jungle there with and the jokes were so good this time around. I don't know how Braxton liked the previous one more than this one. The jokes are like the cutting from Shax being all like adventurous and him slashing through the vines, and then it just cuts to the rest of the UA team just walking, and there's no music and there's no intense lighting. It's just so perfect. And the joke of pronouncing like the name of like the Mugato wrong or differently every time. No one says it the same way. The Clamato, and I don't know. I found that hilarious.
Clamato, that's funny. It's Jane Goodall. Thank you. That was driving me nuts. My feeble old brain couldn't think of it. And you know the thing when we discussed the episode. Thank you. It's actually spelled like this, not Goodall, but Goodall. When we were discussing the TOS episode, so originally in the script it's Gumato, and Dr. McCoy or DeForest Kelly couldn't say it like that to save his life, so they changed it, and it just became Mugato. And then of course there's
that's a deep cut Easter egg for like the episode title in itself.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what it's totally referencing. And then also there's of course the character that Ben Stiller, who's a huge Star Trek fan, created for Zoolander, whose name is Mugato, and so played by Will Ferrell. You've seen Zoolander, right, guys?
I haven't.
I've seen pieces of it.
Oh my gosh, you guys both have to watch Zoolander. It's like
I was told to not go too close to it, but
what? Who told you this? Who told you not to watch Zoolander?
I don't want to put them on the spot, but no.
Okay.
I was told that the first and second they're not really.
No, it's the best. There's so many memes.
Okay.
Also, when you watch it, you'll see all the memes you've been seeing from Zoolander will all of a sudden make sense. You'll be like, oh my gosh, like Blue Steel, the guys. You know how they have the Star Trek guys overlaid on a Jeep, like their heads overlaid on a Jeep, and they're driving around with like lattes? That's from Zoolander. There's so much Zoolander stuff that's in popular culture. You've got to see it. Even if you hate it, you've just got to see it for the sake of seeing it. It's really good. Watch it with wife, but maybe not with baby. It's really
just
fun.
like these Lower Decks episodes.
Yeah, definitely don't want to see this one with. You can't watch these with baby anyways. If you're watching with them, you have to pre-screen them. There are some that you can watch with baby. I feel, but whatever.
No, I think if you have a kid, you might terrify your kid if you subject them to episode of Lower Decks, and if you don't, to like random episodes of Lower Decks, and if you don't pre-screen them first. So.
Baby is only 3 years old, but she has very strong opinions on things that she watches. Like every time there's a new title sequence for Star Trek shows.
When I say that, I'm talking about if you really want to give your kid like deep emotional scars that she won't understand until she's like maybe a teenager. I cut out there for a minute, so I don't know how much I got out.
No, it's funny. I think we're being silly. Billy says the Mugato, alternatively pronounced Mogatu, Mugatu, or Gumato. Was this just updated from today's episode? I think they may have added a few, but I think those are all like from previous ways that they've said it on the show. And
they said at least 5 different ones in this episode itself.
Yeah,
there's even ones that you could spell Mugato, but like at one point I think he says the Mugato or something.
Yeah,
like he insists on the U or something.
So like, and I think I have to go back and watch the episode which is called. Darn it, what's it called? It's not called Patterns of Force.
A piece of the.
No, it's not a piece of the action.
Private Little War.
What's that?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Private Little War. Thank you. It's the Private Little War, but you hear it said like 5 or 6 different times in the episode itself. So it's like it's not consistent, and that's where it comes from. We got the Denoblians. I can't say Denoblians in the beginning.
It's Denobulans.
Denobulans.
There's no I. What are you doing?
Thank you, Denobulans. Cameo in the very beginning of the episode. I like that they were investigating and then their faces puffed up when they were scared. That was really funny.
Like Fox.
like Fox.
I think that's maybe where I got the Jurassic Park vibes. Like, because they were in the jungle, and then the dinosaurs do that. I don't know, maybe.
But in general, there were definitely Jurassic Park vibes, like with the safari, the safari theme.
Yeah, the gates, the fences, like the electric fences. Yeah,
exactly. There's a little bit of that in there for sure. Let's see. What did you guys think of the bartender guy?
He reminded me like of a Irish typical bartender. I mean, I don't mean to piss anybody off, But
I was guessing he's like from the like Maine or Newfoundland or something like that. I mean, which it could be Irish influence, but I didn't think he sounded Irish. But yeah,
yeah, but he was just a really he was a delight. Like in my mind, he served as the narrator who may not be reliable.
yes,
So spewing different stories about people on the ship. Well, in this particular episode, those stories are centered around Mariner, but I could imagine him spewing not reliable stories about anybody on the ship.
He knows 15 different explanations as to why Shax came back.
Yeah.
Like, imagine his personal logs. Goddamn.
Does everyone keep a log on a starship? I don't know. I don't know if that's the thing.
I hope
that
he does.
people do.
They can make a whole audio series about that.
I heard a rumor. But why did you spill the beans? But what was this our first bartender that we've met? I don't know if we've had a bartender before.
Yeah.
Have we?
No. We've seen a bartender, but this is the first time that we've had a bartender speak and and interact with our main characters.
Yeah, I can't recall any. Like, we've seen the bartenders walk around, because they're wearing the same as the TNG outfits, I think. And we've seen them walk around the bar on the Cerritos, but I don't think this is the first time he's actually spoken.
I thought it was. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Maybe he'll be like the comedic Guinan for the series. Like I wouldn't mind.
I
if
do hope he
like,
comes back. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd love him to come back. I don't think he's got much strong advice, but I'd love him to come back.
I do like that Mariner totally gets him, like, understands that he's gonna be like. So she creates that rumor at the end about the Mugato twins, and like he's like, "Your secret's safe with me." No, it's not. Like he's gonna be like telling everyone who comes by what's going on, like about them, and that's gonna be a new rumor that they have, which I think is really fun. I like the character; he's pretty fun. The town gossip sort of, but the ship's gossip, if you will.
So, unrelated, but I have a question for you guys. Were you fooled by Mariner stabbing and eating Shax?
Yes.
Because I was. Not for 1 second did it come back to me that, the Mugato horns are poisonous or anything. Like, I was completely fooled. And I was really wondering, like, how are they going to resolve this? She's eating Shax. This is
I knew
insane.
the-
Like, is there, like, something in the air?
Yeah.
Did she get puffed by a flower or something? Like, what's going on?
I knew the Magatos had like venom that when they bite you, because that's what happened in Private Little War to Kirk. He gets bit, and then the only way to save him is with this. Actually, funny enough, with this like root that looks like poop, and so this
Poop
like
root.
mystic character saves him that way. So I think that would have been a little too much to bring that root back in, but maybe that's what she was doing, like she like on the side or whatever, because he did bounce back pretty quickly. So who knows, maybe Mariner did pull that off. But yeah, I kind of was like worried, because I kind of, you can, with the Ambujitsu scene and everything else, and like Mariner's kind of like got this like interesting past. Like I was like, oh, this is an interesting twist. They're totally gonna make her a Black Ops or Section
I didn't
31
believe
character.
that, though.
Nope.
Really? Okay, I thought
I
so.
didn't believe that.
that's
I
what
was
I was
wondering what was
falling
going on.
for
With
I
Planet.
I did not believe a single thing that I saw Mariner do in this episode, from biting Shax, from playing that game with that knife with the fingers.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't believe it is because we saw all these actions through the characters of Boimler and Rutherford, and those reactions got super hyped when they heard the story from the bartender. So based on
It's
that,
true. It's a good point.
I used what little brain power I have to start putting together a possible logical explanation for this behavior. And I think that their mind, Boimler and Rutherford's mind, just got away from them a little bit. And yeah, so.
Very cool.
That's it.
Well, your tiny little brain, as you say, worked way better than mine.
Yeah,
did.
than ours. I was fooled. No, I knew that she, like it was impossible for me that she would be Section 31 or Black Ops or anything. But I was wondering how they were going to resolve it on planet. I was like, this is like the intrigue was pretty intense for me.
Right.
I think we're being silly. Billy's wants to know, what is your doll's name, Toddy?
This one
Yeah.
don't have a name. I just call him Mugato.
There you go.
But maybe he needs a name.
One more point.
Gumato is not bad.
Clamato, I like that. One more point on the bartender. PE parentheses I says, the bartender guy didn't seem to me like a Star Trek character. He seemed more to be a cameo character from another show like Family Guy. Yeah, he's got like that vibe of like.
Yeah,
one of
that's
those
very
characters
true.
for sure. Yeah. And Shaka, cool. Shaka, when the walls fell. De Silva is in the audience and he says, "Hey, just popped in to say I got Disney Plus, so I'm catching up on all the Yay! Hope to see you on on.
You should also watch Monsters at Work.
What did you guys think of the diplomacy game? Like, so what is it if you're both if you're both unhappy, then you've reached a compromise? It's kind of true. It's like compromises don't always have to be like making both parties happy. It could also be about both parties agreeing to be unhappy about something, which is interesting.
Yeah, for some reason, that game that Boimler and Rutherford were playing reminded me of the game that they play on BSG. Like, but on BSG, they really didn't explain that game.
Wait, what game are you talking about?
The Parisi Square.
No, Parisi Square is Star Trek.
I know. Okay, then scratch everything I said.
All right, we'll get back to that.
Explodes my point.
But anyways. But yeah, like I thought it was cool because it's a fun way to practice diplomacy. I wish are there any games in real life that like is Monopoly no, that's more like practicing.
I'm gonna take well
commerce.
this Risk, which is just conquering,
Risk.
I guess nowadays. But I'm gonna take a jab at old Star Trek and say that I always cringe at like I prefer when TV shows, or at least in the past, never really got into the details of the games that they had, because once they start explaining, that's when you notice that the writers have no fucking idea. Like, they don't know what a tabletop game is at all. And that's why I hate Up the Long... What is it? Up the Long Ladder? What the DS9 episode where they get trapped inside a game.
That's the Alan Moraine episode.
Oh, Alan Moraine or whatever it is.
That is called Move Along Home.
Move Along Home.
I can't believe my brain's working for something.
Yeah, that's the kind of episode I don't like that episode, but like I don't know why this one, even if they didn't explain it that like all that much, just the way it was set up and the way that you have the cards and the multiple pieces and there's all the different colors. I feel like the writers on Lower Decks, or at least the animators, or someone or just maybe culturally now we're all more used to, I guess, more complex tabletop games, and it felt like a more realistic game than a lot of things that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think
3D just excluded, of course. Like,
one of the most complex tabletop games I played, but it's so much fun, is called Agricola. If anyone is like a really good one, but I think Settlers of Catan is kind of like that too, which is another fun kind of game. So yeah, but I can't think of a game centered around diplomacy. If anyone in the audience knows of a tabletop game that's centered around diplomacy, please let us know. But it would be cool.
This Seven Wonders has diplomatic kind of, I suppose, themes to it. Seven Wonders basically, cool. Your objective is to build different wonders by using your resources, but also the resources that other people put on the table. And so what happens is, like, you need to trade. Like, if you have a lot of wood and they have a lot of stone, then you can trade some of your wood for for stone to build, your wonders. So there's like diplomatic or maybe like more commercial aspect, I guess, to that. But I don't know if the diplomats, to be fair, seems a bit boring. But I get the point.
Blue says, I don't know, but Civilization could be. Yeah, there's some diplomacy in Civilization. That's true. It's a good one. But that's not a tabletop. I don't think there's a tabletop version. There's that's strictly online game or a video game. So yeah, we mentioned in the summary about Mariner's previous posts. So, I totally was excuse me. I was totally buying into the Black Ops thing, but obviously that's not true. Or maybe she has been in the past, and maybe one of her assignments were. We may yet find that out. Did she? Who was it? Oh, Tendi went on the mission last season. With that was really funny too. But the Atlantis. Do we know anything about the Atlantis?
I don't think so.
No.
That's like me. I meant to look it up, but I figured.
I think the most we know about Marina is like her time on DS9 and just the fact that she was wearing one of those DS9 uniforms. Like that's all we get.
So she's
and then
been
again,
on the Keto,
like, it
Deep
might
Space
be
Nine, and the Atlantis.
It might be unreliable narration as well
Yeah.
with Marina.
You know,
like,
No, but it was her service record. When they were looking it up, they looked it up, and she indeed served on the Atlantis. And she mentions that like half the crew disappeared not for any like crazy reason, but because they had the lice, which is really funny.
that seems like bullshit though.
According to Memory Beta, the USS Atlantis registry NCC 72007, or there's another registry which is NCC 32710, was
That's
a
not
Federation
canon.
starship. I know. I said Memory Beta. That should be an indicator. It's not Memory Alpha. That was in Starfleet service commissioned in the 24th century, so it would line up with this time period. The Atlantis was commanded by Captain Jane Park and received orders from Admiral Gregory Quinn, from Conspiracy. And in 2365, the Atlantis was under the command of Dick Brownfield, assigned to captain the Atlantis on diplomatic mission to Alderaan, like as in from Star Wars. That's interesting. Anyways, that's all I've got. There's a little bit.
It's not canon.
It's not, but
That's
now
why there's Star Wars in there.
the ship name has been brought into your beloved
It
canon,
Yes.
Toddy, and so the closest thing we have is the extended universe to look for clues as to what the ship might actually be.
And you never know with Lower Decks. They might like invent their own thing, but they might also like because they've followed like beta canon quite a bit, like the Titan itself, right?
Right. Well, Titan was mentioned in TNG films.
Oh yeah,
so,
but they took the model for the
model,
Titan.
the
That
design,
was from
yeah.
what was
Speaking
it,
of
from the
which,
video game?
shout out to Sean, and I cannot say his name, Sean T, who designed the Titan. He was so happy that the Titan was on the latest. I'm wearing the first episode Lower Deck shirt with Ransom on it today. But
Spoilers.
What?
Spoilers.
What's a spoiler?
Your shirt.
Your T-shirt.
Spoiler. Yeah.
No, it's a past episode. Why is it a spoiler?
It's still a spoiler because I can guarantee you there's a bunch of Star Trek fans out there of Lower Decks who aren't like us. What those people are going to do are going to watch the entire season when it's all done.
They shouldn't be watching this show. Anyways,
It's perfect. We're team working now to trigger you and your spoiler hate.
I do have. It's not spoiler hate. It's spoiler disdain. It's just disdain. But if you notice, I am respectful. All like any tweets that I do, even potential spoilers, I post that it might be a spoiler, and sometimes I mess up, but I'm only human.
So you spoiled the fact that the Mugato were in the episode for me.
Yeah, I did.
But it would have been spoiled anyway because when I went to watch the episode, like there was a bug, and the first thing that appeared on screen was like a Mugato. I was like, oh, okay, all right. So,
the way I worded it, I looked back. It didn't really spoil what was going to happen. It was just. It could have been just me saying, that colorful metaphor, and then Mugato.
well, they named the episode.
Yeah, Mugato
in
Gumato.
it.
Anyways, the shirt, the next shirt for episode 2 has Boimler and the Titan on it. And the designer of the Titan liked one of my tweets about it and was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" So I bought him a shirt. He wanted the shirt, so I sent it to him. I'm so excited. It's the first time I've ever been able to thank a Trek person for their work with a gift. So that was cool. And I know Toddy is thinking about his shirts that haven't been sent to him yet. They're coming. I promise. Now we can
Just
send
have to
them
give them
again.
to me in person.
The
in
borders
Chicago
are
at this
open. Yeah, I
point.
know. I should just save them save it for Chicago. It's still new and pressed it hasn't been touched. It hasn't been laundered or anything. So
I would
so
give it to him in
you'll
person.
like
If you guys, if you had that option, give it to him in person. I mean, both of you are going to Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, might as well keep them like a
there
few
you
months
go.
more. What are you gonna do
yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
at this point? Like season 2's already come out.
So
Like
Mariner
these are season 1 shots, so
Mariner calls. I thought it was interesting that Mariner calls out the Ferengi as being what last outpost Ferengi. Is that what she actually says? What was it?
yeah. Sometimes her references are a bit specific, or it makes I think smaller events seem bigger than what they are. But then again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the last outpost, like the events of that episode, were bigger because that's what the first time the Federation really was.
The Takan Empire. Yeah, it's the Takan Empire, and
it's the Takan Empire. It's the first time they interact with the Ferengi in a long time. Maybe it is a bigger deal than what I thought it was.
It is interesting that Lower Decks does now show that there are, I guess, two different kinds of Ferengi, or at least the Ferengi. There's some Ferengi that are kind of like, quote unquote, the last outpost Ferengi. They're a little more rough around the edges and violent, and less business savvy. And then there's ones like Quark, and she even like mentions Quark in this episode. He's like, of course I know who Quark is. So like, what do you think the show's trying to do here? Like, I think it's trying to like, is it trying to say that like, here's these weird inconsistencies? Is Mike McMahon perhaps trying to say like, here's these weird inconsistencies that existed in TNG, so I'm gonna like put in these little points to kind of fill in those gaps for everyone and give an explanation or a explanation.
I don't think he's trying to say that at all. I think he's trying to say that there's all different types of the same alien in Star Trek that have different brain power, whether they be Ferengi or not. So, I mean,
there's nothing to indicate that these Ferengi are stupid or
Yeah.
anything like that, or that they have different brain power. But
No,
I would just say they have different ideals,
different customs, I guess.
Yeah, they have
Like,
different
Right.
customs and different deals. At least
I think they're just using what's established. Like established canon. We have the Ferengi from like the last Outpost episode where they're all hissing and squatting over and whipping, but we also do have Quark. And so it's like it's only to your advantage to use them both. Like if you want to do an episode with an intelligent Ferengi like Quinn, then it's good. But if you want to do like an episode where you've got these kind of, I suppose, Ferengi that are a bit, then you could do it like that.
Continuity, not canon, perhaps, but just just throwing it out there. You can use canon if you want to.
Consistency.
But what I would say is that like it's definitely not like it's funny you said it when you were describing like a more intelligent Ferengi versus a less intelligent. I think it's definitely more of like a at least with the Ferengi, it's more like a ideology rather than intelligence, because again, these Ferengi totally buy into they seem to be bought into the whole commerce system and like worshiping the prophet and stuff like that, because at the end when they aren't just barbaric, which is what one thought from TNG. So that's what I'm saying is like adding layers, because like what I always thought was like it was a retcon, they just fixed the Ferengi, right? But here he's suggesting no, nothing was fixed. They just act different. That's what I always thought that way,
because Deep Space Nine
to me fixed the Ferengi, because the Ferengi were always kind of like barbaric.
Yeah, but they didn't just change them. They really took the time to say, look, this is the Ferengi. They are like sexist, right? Like they don't allow female Ferengi to be like to do commerce, etc. And then they transition that by showing Mugi and like her relationship.
Yeah, but we never see in Deep Space Nine. We never see the fur-laden, whipping, crouching, barbaric type Ferengi ever. It's almost as if they didn't exist. They're kind of erased by Deep Space Nine, right? Whereas on TNG, that's kind of always how the Ferengi were. Even Damon Bach, who's like they started upgrading them in later seasons, but they were
we have
always
to wait till
kind of
Enterprise till they show the whips again, and they show like kind of that Ferengi again. Yeah, I know what you mean. But I do think they were trying to transition, like I guess the very human-centric way to say it is they're trying to elevate the species to like align more with what our views of like a correct society is. But I like when they change the Grand Nagus and when all of the changes in regard to female Ferengi, all of that happens in Deep Space Nine, you can be sure that there's a whole bunch of Ferengi that just they don't jive with that. They're not okay with that, and maybe these guys would be part of that, like part of that group or part of the population. They would continue doing their own thing. They don't want to trade or engage in commerce with female Ferengi. They would insist that they would continue not wearing clothes, that kind of stuff. Like, it makes sense. It just makes sense that there's a lot of different kind of people within one people.
So you would say there's like there's different sects, there's different, for lack of a better word, houses of Ferengi, right? Where you have.
I'll say it like this. It's just like
views.
I would just say it like this. Like, it's just like how, there's like some humans tend to be like bros, and they're just like kind of like,
Bros
very.
before-
they're just like kind of, they have outdated ideals. They like express themselves in a brutish kind of way and like not very civilized, and they scoff at people who act like hoity-toity, and they call them hoity-toity and things like that. So I think that's just to me that's just like what it's doing in this episode is it's adding these layers.
Ferengis.
What's that?
These are bro Ferengis.
Yeah, these are Ferengi bros. Exactly, they're like Ferengi bros versus Quark, who's more.
Bro-Rengis.
Quark is more of like as you would say, an educated Ferengi perhaps. But bros go to college. There's bro grammar. You find bros in all walks of life. Like there's, programmers, for example, that we call brogrammers from time to time. Like, things like that. So
Quark is like a Ferengi with a top hat and a suit.
yeah, definitely. And he's definitely wearing a nice suit.
Yeah, and Quinn is basically that, because Quinn's got a monocle and everything, like from season 1, right?
Yeah.
So I would like to see now. Like, okay, so this is now I'm taking my wants to like the next step, because I've always wanted to see like the variances in the same species. So now Lower
these are
Decks
more
is,
cultural, yeah. But
Lower Decks
exactly.
is delivering this. Picard did the same thing with their Romulans. Now I want to see them interact. Now I want to see someone like Quinn or Quark interact with someone like these morons on the planet. All right, and be like, yo, what the hell are you doing? Like. I would love to see them in like a battle of like commercial wits or something, and you just see how stupid this guy is.
And we do get a bit. Speaking of more layers, like in the previous season, like Mariner's best pals with that one Ferengi, and Boimler definitely has a bias towards Ferengis, and like that one Ferengi is acting like the kind of bro Ferengis. Yeah, Human, bro Ferengi. So, like, yeah, it's interesting what Lower Decks is doing. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. And I agree with you. I want to see more of this, like, interaction and, like, more layers and more nuance, especially, like, with the Klingons,
So here's a big question. Will the season finale give us, like, a nuanced pack lid? Will there be like an intelligent or a different?
The Packlids are just idiots. No,
they're all
just
morons.
stupid. They're all just morons.
We make ship go. There won't be like one pack lid that's above the pack.
No,
Please don't get me started on the pack lid.
Very nice, very nice. Blue says this definitely adds layers for me, and PE says I could see Brunt from DS9 overseeing a group of those more barbaric slave trading Ferengi, but more as a secretive side hustle. Yeah, it's
You know how
I
they
could
call
see
like they call humans like pink skin, like the Andorians call us pink skin, and there's like spoonheads or what is it for the Cardis, that kind of stuff. There's like all this racist terminology. I was thinking lead heads for pack lids. Because lead's not good for your brain, but then I didn't tweet it out. I was like, no, I'm not gonna tweet that. That seems a little rough. Anyway,
I think it's good that you didn't
that
tweet
would
it
be
out
funny.
and that you said it because people can see your intention through your.
yeah, it works better also like when you pronounce
When you
it, because when
yeah,
you
when
read
you
it,
say
it
it.
doesn't work as well. But
It doesn't work as well. Although I think Led Zeppelin fans are lead heads, right? Get the lead out. No, isn't that like?
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, but
Yeah.
lead has an A in it though, isn't it? Doesn't it? So would lead head? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not gonna write it, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But that was my racist way of calling packlids, I guess.
I think we're being silly. Billy says I expect Boatwreck to object to Boymes and Rutherford getting beaten up. I don't know.
I
think
thought that was a bit much, personally.
really
Like the opening,
Okay.
like the cold opens that we're getting, like the little teasers that we're getting this season, they're all a bit much for me. The showers I didn't really like. This is a bit too much.
Boimler and Rutherford are complete morons. if they think that they can win in a fight against Beckett Mariner, I don't care.
I'll agree with you on that one.
Look, I don't care if they're playing a game of like phaser tag, or if they're playing a game of what is this game called? Like jujitsu or something?
Ambujitsu, yeah.
Ambujitsu.
Yeah, ambujitsu.
They really need to think of. They really need to use their brain power before they confront.
Come on, they've been practicing. I get where they're coming from. Like,
he's right. The only way they would beat Mariner is in like that Klingon yoga or whatever it is. Like that, maybe Boimler could win.
Tai Chi. I think you're thinking of the Klingon Tai Chi, right?
Look, I understand why the writer of this episode did it, because it was funny and I laughed out loud too. But if I can just think for just a second with my logical Star Trek brain, there's no way that. Yeah.
They've been practicing at midnight for like weeks and weeks. I could see why they were assessing themselves.
I guess they hyped themselves. They hyped
themselves
their
a
confidence.
too much.
Alone maybe not, but they hyped themselves into it was an obvious lose, right?
I get where they're coming from.
It's like Harry Kim trying to fight B'Elanna on the holodeck or something. It's not gonna happen.
When I was in fencing, I'd done it. I was already doing it for like 3 years at that point, so I was pretty good at it. And like this like new kid came into the fencing league, and I was holding back because I didn't want them to get discouraged, right? So I let them get me a couple times, and I would just like, whatever. And then one time they were like I felt like I had a Beckett moment, because one time they were showing off, and I just like click every time. Like I wouldn't let them get me. I was just like blocking and parrying and lunging, and I was too fast for them. And then they realized, oh, my skill level needs to go up. So I could see it from that perspective, where like you don't want to discourage someone necessarily, especially like in a sport like that. By the way, I think I want to play. I think I definitely would like to do ambujitsu. I think that's
you want to fence with card.
But I also want to do ambujitsu. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like it's a little, like it can.
Isn't it?
No, but it could be. I think you could do it with less brutality. Like,
isn't Riker like dislocating his shoulder all the time or something?
Yeah, he plays with his dad. It's really funny. I bet Mariner plays with Riker. That's where she probably learned how to do it, is through Riker. He probably taught her a few things.
Damn it, Boimler should have practiced with Riker. God, you missed the opportunity.
The other Boimler, William's probably doing it.
William's a boss.
How did you guys feel about Shax in this episode? Last episode, he felt off, of course, because he just come back from to life. Did he feel more like Shax, or are you still a little suspicious of him?
He is a little bit muted, for me this season, which makes sense because, if I die one day and they stick me into the Lazarus pit, I hope I come back differently. But I liked him. Like my favorite Shax moment is in the cold open of this episode when Rutherford and Boimler are getting their
10 more minutes.
are getting their something handed to them.
They're getting pwned by Mariner.
Yes,
you're welcome.
Yes.
PG-13 assist.
Yes, when they're getting pwned by Mariner, and he just walks casually right in and sits down, and he can hear Rutherford or Boimler calling for help, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do a single thing.
Well, he just says, "I'm early. I'm 10 minutes early. You're good."
Yeah,
and
he
like,
just goes, and he just goes, "Guys, don't worry about it. I'm 10 minutes early. Do your thing." So.
And do you think he was himself more on the planet, like when he was like, "You guys are in violation, like." Of whatever treaty or blah 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 of Federation trade laws or whatever? Like, do you think he was more like himself, or so I think we were being silly. Billy says, I agree, Shax isn't himself yet, and I kind of agree with that as well.
Yeah, but like I said, he's not. He's like muted, but he's not that demonstrative Shax that we saw in season 1, where he goes, "Oh God, please let me blow something up,"
Well,
he does specify that he's like, when they lose contact with the ship, he's like, "We're alone." There's like, "Oh, I like it." So
right,
I feel like
he also
still
has
has very Shax.
He has that moment where he's like, "Our backs are against the wall. Let's go." Like he's like charge and stuff like that. So I don't know.
I think he's still very much himself. I was more. Honestly, I didn't think too much about Shax. Like I loved him But I didn't question whether he was different or not. I was just a bit confused as to why we're not getting too much Keishon.
Yeah,
I was like, wasn't Keishon
like,
the new?
So in
like,
the last 2 episodes, we've only seen Keishon, but we haven't had any like real Keishon moments.
Yeah, but I thought he was the
hoping for
new replacement, or maybe the show's doing it on purpose. Like the lower decks are kind of unaware of like the interchanging, I suppose, like hierarchy and the structure of the ship. Maybe we're just left in the dark the same way. Like maybe Shax has taken over his position.
I mean, and Keishon was certainly in, like, he was on the bridge in the previous episode, and also in this episode he was doing that Klingon martial art, I think, or like some kind of martial art with.
I'm gonna say Shax needs a little time to adjust to Starfleet life. Like in my mind, Shax has had a family episode from like TNG. You know, like what Picard went through. He just came back from his family episode.
That's interesting, yeah.
And now he's kind of readjusting to. So like this was his first mission back out there, but in different occasions they might use Keishon.
Maybe Keishon is like one big giant MacGuffin, right? For like,
is he an enemy plant? Is he like a Pac-led plant?
I vaguely recall Mike McMahon saying there's going to be a lot of fun moments with Keishon. Okay. So I think, I mean, we're only episode 4, right, out of 10. So who knows? We'll see.
Well, they've already like used up all of the Tamarian jokes.
Yeah, but
they use them all up, Sean. Every single Tamarian joke.
I'm not a fan of Tamarian. So if he would like fade in the background and we would get more Shax, I wouldn't, I wouldn't, hop on my Star Trek soapbox and start screaming from high heavens, like, we need more Keishon. But that's just me.
Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be a team up coming up or something like. Yeah, it's very interesting to see what they're doing with both Shax and Keishon. Maybe there's going to be tension later on. Who knows? We'll see.
But my favorite, sort of story point of this episode is watching Tendi having to go all across the ship getting vitals for all the people that didn't show up to their physicals. And the main reason why I like that so much is because I hate going to the doctor. I will only go to the doctor if I absolutely have to. And by absolutely have to, I mean I have to be near death to go to the doctor.
We all like to pretend we're just fine. As long as no one says or finds something wrong, then there's nothing wrong, right?
Yeah. Those were some really great gags throughout there. So earlier you mentioned that I guess we're going to wrap up soon, but let's go ahead and end on, this was, I think, the most explicit thing I've ever seen on Star Trek. The Mugato sex scene.
I feel like the Nemesis Riker Troy scene
might have been,
but that's more sensual. Like that, I guess that's more sensual.
Yeah.
And erotic.
What about?
But is this? What
about?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What about the Klingon situation in season 1 of Star Trek Discovery? You guys?
Oh, I do remember that.
Right, yeah.
That might have been, and also there is the sex.
There's also the trip to pole stuff that sometimes gets.
Oh yeah, I guess. Okay. So maybe it's not the most. It's just like the most like. It was out of nowhere. It was a very weird gag. It's a very like sexual and weird gag. I did think that though there was an element of National Geographic's happening. It's very complex. Like it was like
it's kind of animal. It's just the final thing with the horn and the solo thing that I don't feel like that's a. I don't feel like that's a nature thing. Like I feel like
just go reference bonobos on National Geographic and you see all kinds of weird shit.
All right, okay.
I've never seen. It's like
all right. Well, maybe Mike McMahon knows his monkeys more than me.
His apes. They're apes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Damn dirty apes.
Well, these are space beasts. So.
But I guess it was just very explicit in the sense that like. It left
wife's
very
not
little.
Gonna like it. I can tell you now, wife's not gonna like it. She's gonna be like, "No, that was too much."
It's just like very little to the imagination. My cat's leaving. I think I offended my cats.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think we're being silly billies. The best thing about the Mugato sex thing was Boimler and Rutherford's dry clinical comments about it. That's the contrast between like the very raw kind of events that are happening before everyone's eyes. And the very kind of I guess almost David Attenborough commentary going on by the two. Oh my goodness!
The
it seems like they're having
Mugato are a
sex.
very social species.
If he asserts his dominance, then things could get messy. Oh, but no, he seems pleased and aroused by what is happening before his eyes.
Let's get everything you wanted to get into our final comments and ratings. And audience, please feel free to give us your ratings as well, because Toddy's got to leave, and we try to keep these within an hour anyways. So it's a good opportunity to wrap it up. But Marcel, why don't you go? Well, I'll go first with my final thoughts. There's so much more to talk about in this episode, and you guys can go check out Text Trek tomorrow night, where we're gonna do a more fun and deep dive. Into a more fun. Sorry. Wow. Good call out. No, this is more fun. This is more fun. That one's also fun. Fun.
No, but in all fairness, this is like going through the episode, driving a car, not paying attention to where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. These are initial reactions.
You get a roadmap. Yeah.
You get a roadmap.
Tomorrow's episode on Text Trek is going to be like going through this episode with a scalpel.
Yeah, but fun. A fun scalpel.
Yeah, a fun scalpel.
Fun surgery. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna give this episode I'm gonna give this one like an 8.5. Actually, it's not gonna be my favorite, I can already tell, but it had a lot of great gags, and again, just like all episodes of Lower Decks, I really thoroughly enjoy it. There's so many things that there's so many more things to talk about, but tune in tomorrow to Text Trek to get more on that. But yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. What about you, Marcelo?
I will give it. I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8. Like I said, I've only seen this episode once, so but there's so many things that I enjoyed about it, and I really like the way that the season is progressing, because Starfleet Boy, I was very, very unhappy with the way that the season started out. So I think that the show is on a better path that I will enjoy where the story takes me. So.
Yeah, I had little doubt that the show's gonna get better and better, but I'm very hyped for it, and I want to see what they'll do with the finale. I feel like just like it kind of caught us off guard last season, we're gonna have something totally catch us off guard this season too. Toddy, take us out with your final thoughts and
in a very rare instance, going to give the highest rating on this show. I think I'm going to give it a 9.
Wow!
Like I like this episode.
This never happens.
Yeah, this never happens. I like this episode, I think, as much as like the farm episode from last season, which I think both episodes
that's a good
run with certain themes and ideas that exist in Star Trek, but just take them to the limit. But they managed to balance it out with how much like Star Trek it should be. Yeah, that's and of course there are things that every episode I've always got something to complain about.
Halloween's coming up, and the farm episode's definitely on my Halloween list. Thanks for reminding me.
But this I very much like this one, and just the conclusion. As we talked in the beginning, we talked about the conclusion, just the fact that it was such a positive and such a great way to conclude an episode, and we don't get this in TV generally speaking nowadays. So that I don't know, I like
with like a nice. It was a happy ending, so to speak.
Yeah, it was a happy ending, and it was. I thought it was. God damn.
Rutherford, I like it.
I didn't even get it at first. I was
Okie dokie.
It was clever. I think it was very clever of the writers.
Yeah, I agree. What do you guys have to promote? Toddy, please once again promote your Trek Chat and anything else you've got going on, please.
Yes, go listen to the Trek Chat. Noah AK is a great guest, but also my partner in crime, Botrick, is with me in that discussion, because I always need to have someone that I know.
Thanks for the shout-outs to Starfleet Boy. Maybe Noah will be like, what's Starfleet Boy? And check it out.
Starfleet Boy?
Yeah.
Also, I'm still technically late this week because my reviews usually come out on Tuesdays, but I got so late with last week that it's kind of making me late this week. But hopefully...
It's not who's there first, but who does it the best. And you certainly do it the best.
I should hopefully be able to get this one out earlier than I did last week. So slowly I'll be catching up. Maybe next week's episode this episode I'll be able to put it out next Tuesday. So that's me.
Excellent. Marcelo, what do you got going on?
Yeah, well, I have a YouTube channel called Balloon Head Productions where I review all sorts of awesome things. I also have two podcasts. One called Radio 815 that focuses on uh, talking and analyzing the J.J. Abrams universe. And the other podcast that I have is a podcast based on my personal life and my personal experiences. And that podcast is called the Red Wall Podcast.
The
But
Red Wall.
it was a pleasure being here, and it was so much
Yay!
fun to interact with the man, the myth, legend, Trek on the Tube, because I've heard so much
He is. He's a
nice stuff
legendary
about you
person.
and interesting stuff about you.
Oh wow.
Marcelo
from-
thought we hate each other because
Yeah,
of our
from
fleets. I had to.
from the-
Starfleet Boy,
the fleets,
because-
yeah.
because the whole fleets thing really throws me off.
He was
really
baffled.
through me off.
He was super baffled.
Well, you know, other people thought we were like together as a couple as well. So
Yes,
we've
that
we've had all sorts.
We've had many. There, just like in this episode about Mariner, there are many rumors that bartenders
So
spread
we start
about.
rumors about ourselves. I gotta start
Maybe-
I gotta
yeah,
start dummy channels, just like instigating beef or
Some
something.
rumors, exactly.
Yeah, no, but it was but it was such a pleasure to finally meet you virtually. It was such a pleasure.
Absolutely, and you
have
need
this
to be on
conversation.
Trek Chat one day.
Yeah,
Come on.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love connecting people and putting them together. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us in the audience as usual. We really appreciate your time, and we enjoy seeing your comments. Anyone who's watching this on the replay, please let us know what you think in the comments below in YouTube. And don't forget to please smash the like button. I always forget to do this, and subscribe if you like. It'll help us out. It'll help us, immensely to confound the algorithm of YouTube. So anyways, live long and prosper, everybody, and we will see you next